Welcome, in front of me is a Motorola Moto G 5G Plus, and today I'll show you a couple tweaks and tricks you can do on this device. So number one, we're going to begin with the style, which will allow you to tweak how the device kind of looks like, and you can find it under the display, and it's right here. So we have just the default one, but then we can also tap on add, and we'll go through a couple basic steps where you can choose a couple different things. So as you can see, we have different fonts, then we have different colors right here, so you can choose one that suits you. Then we have shapes of the icons, layout of the home screen, and simply name it. Now I'm just going to keep it as it is. So once you do, you can see it right over here, tap on apply, and there we go, it has changed as you can see. Then moving on to the next one, it's just going to be the simple dark theme, which will turn everything dark and also furthermore make this look a little bit better. So this also includes just the settings, but things like default apps for dialer, messages, photos. There we go, photos, that's what I meant to show. That was just a screenshot. Browser, so yeah, it extends through majority of the pre-installed apps, but keep in mind that apps that you will download may not be supported by this, so that's a little bit of a bummer unless the developer decided to add it in, which is really nice when they do. Then moving on to the next one, it's going to be the color, which allows you to change the color temperature of the display itself. That's this system wide, and again it's under the display. We can scroll down to colors, there we go, and we have the saturated, boosted, and natural. Now personally I really like the natural, but that is just me. It is the least colorful out of them all and looks a little bit more natural as it's supposed to be. The saturated is okay too. Boosted seems to have almost no difference. The only difference you can see is just like in the more intensive colors, so like the orange and purple right here start to look a little bit more colorful, but it's fairly subtle. For instance, when you go through these two, it's like a completely different color palette almost, but that is completely up to preference. So if you like the saturated or boosted, stick around with it. I, for instance, like the natural. Then moving on to the next one, it is going to be just a simple split screen. Now you access it by having a app open. You can close it or go into recent and tap on the icon itself, and you will have the split screen. Now I'm using YouTube as a option right here because the first app that you open will go to the top, and personally I really feel like YouTube is a really good candidate for app to be on top. And from here we can open up another app, so Chrome for instance, and use two different apps. Now I'm not connected to network, but normally when you are and you tap on a video to play, it can be playing and you can be doing other stuff on your web browser, and this will not pause your music or whatever you're listening to. You can also go home and it will minimize it to this point while it will still play. So you can be on your home screen, this is kind of minimized, but still to the app it is basically open, so it will keep playing music or whatever it is. The moment you minimize it or close it is basically when it's gonna stop the music or playback. Then moving on to the next one, it's gonna be the simple gestures. Now by default we have them enabled when we go to the setup, unless you have decided to not have it on. But if you want to change it, you can go into the settings, scroll down to system, and then go to, I think it's gestures, yep, and system navigation, and we have it right over here. So we have the gesture navigation, which is the default one that Motorola tries to enable, and then the 3-button navigation, which will bring it back down here. I personally am fond, and I really like the gesture, specifically the back buttons. The position of it normally when you're using the device is really nice, and the position of it just makes it so smooth to use it instead of trying to like fiddle your finger to the bottom just to tap on a back button. From here you can do it from either side and it will work. And the last thing that I wanted to add is just a fun one. It's the high refresh rate. So it's under the display, and we have it somewhere in here. Once I can actually find it, display refresh rate, there we go. So by default it's set to auto, which will determine it based on the battery and also what you have open. And this is one of those things that you will not see on the video that I'm recording whatsoever. So if it's on 90, you don't see it. It basically to you will look the same as 60. Now if you're wondering what it exactly does, you might not be aware. Refresh rate is just the amount of frames it is displaying, the screen is displaying at a time, so per second. So imagine this as a super fast slideshow, and with the 60, which is the default, 60 frames is basically, imagine 60 slides of images in a single second. And when you switch it to 90, instead of 60 you will be seeing 90, so there will be more content. When you're, for instance, scrolling up and down, this will affect how many different slides you have between the scrolling, and it does look smoother. So I highly advise you to switch it to 90. It will cost you a little bit of battery, anything drastic. It's like a, I don't know, decrease of an hour maybe of a battery life throughout the entire battery life. So if it's gonna last, like, for instance, 27 hours or something like that, when they usually do, this will cost you about an hour of that. But honestly, in my opinion, this is a option that is worth having on. The device looks smoother in terms of like how it functions, and everything just feels more snappy and fast. So yeah. Now this would conclude everything that I wanted to show, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.